As soon as Rita left, Debbie threw herself at Alex and hugged him tightly, sobbing. When Melissa and the other girls had been beating her, Debbie had felt completely alone. Now that she was in Alex's arms, she felt warm and safe. "Why did they say such awful things about my mother?" she asked. "I know how hard my mom's life is. She works hard every day. And whenever I was sick, she would get up really early and go out to get medicine for me. She never complains. I don't care if they make fun of me or hit me, but why do they have to insult my mother?" When she remembered the look on Melissa's face when she had insulted Debbie's mother, Debbie couldn't control her emotions. Her voice broke, and she stomped on the ground, her whole body shaking. "It's okay, Debbie," Alex said. Seeing her like this, he grew even more worried. He hated the people who had hurt her so badly. He gently patted her back to calm her down as quickly as possible. "Don't worry," he assured her. "If anyone hurts you, I'll make sure they pay for it. I will always be by your side to protect you. How are you feeling now? Any better?" As he comforted her, she finally calmed down. "Who beat you?" Alex asked, gently wiping away her tears. "Tell me and I'll deal with it." His eyes held a trace of viciousness. "It was 3 of my bandmates," Debbie answered, speaking softly. She was no longer as upset as before. "Just forget about it. If they try this again, then you can do something." Debbie didn't want to cause trouble with Melissa and the other girls. After all, they were in a band together, and they would have to get along. But Debbie, Alex wanted to give those girls a good beating. "No, listen to me," she said gently, looking at him. "I'll talk to them, and if they attack me again, then I'll let you beat them up for me." He frowned. Although he didn't want to let this go, he had to listen to her. "Will you come with me to the Azalea guest house to see my mom?" she asked. More than anything, she just wanted to see her mother. Even just sitting quietly beside her would make Debbie feel better. "Okay." Alex was deeply moved. He lightly touched her face and smiled. "Before you go and see your mom, maybe you should wash your face." Debbie took a quick shower, and then they left to visit her mother. Alex held her hand as they walked. It was 9 p.m. and the streets were brightly lit, with many people walking on both sides of the road, enjoying the cool air as they strolled under the trees. As Alex and Debbie walked down the steps of the building, Alex's cell phone rang. It was Sam Woodsworth. Alex frowned slightly, thinking that he must have been invited to a party again. "Mr. Ambrose," Sam's panicked voice came through the phone. "There seems to be a serious problem with Mrs. Stonehill. She's been taken to the New York City General Hospital. Do you want to come and see her?" On hearing this, Alex was stunned. "Something happened to Carla?" he asked. "What's going on?" He put the phone on speaker so that Debbie could hear properly. "What happened to my mother?" Debbie asked anxiously. "I sent someone to accompany Mrs. Stonehill on a tour of New York City," Sam told them. "Everything was fine until an hour ago when they were out eating. Mrs. Stonehill fainted after complaining about being in pain, and she was taken to the hospital emergency room. She's now in intensive care." By the time Sam had finished speaking, Debbie's legs were about to collapse under her. "Okay, tell the doctor to look after Carla," Alex said. "If anything happens to her, they won't work in that hospital again." He ended the call. "Alex, take me to the hospital," Debbie said, panicking as she clutched his arm. "Please, hurry, I need to go to the hospital." She was very anxious and scared and couldn't think about anything else. She just needed to go to the hospital to see her mother. Her entire body trembled. "Don't be afraid," Alex whispered into her ear. "Trust me, your mom will be fine." He kept his arm around her and they walked to the side of the road. It wasn't easy to get a taxi. Alex felt Debbie trembling in his arms, and he couldn't let her suffer any longer. Leaving her for a moment, he walked into the middle of the road and forced a black to stop. Alex threw a wad of money at the driver's face through the open window before jumping back to the sidewalk. On seeing the money, the owner of the car smiled, his eyes gleaming. There were at least $1,000 there. "Don't just stay there," Alex yelled. "Pull over here." The driver realized that the young man who had just thrown money at him was calling him, and he hurriedly drove over. Alex opened the back door of the car and got inside with Debbie, He told the driver to take them to the general hospital as quickly as possible. He sat with his arms around Debbie as he comforted her. "Don't worry," he murmured. "Your mom will be fine, trust me." The car stopped abruptly. "Move it!" Alex shouted angrily at the driver. He just wanted to get Debbie to her mother quickly. "Young man, it's not that I don't want to move, it's that I can't," the driver said, his tone bitter. "The road is blocked." Alex looked and saw more than 10 young people in front of the car. He had no idea what they were doing. He opened the car window, stuck out his head, and shouted at them, "Hey, get out of the way!" The crowd were all gathered around a rich young man called Henry, who had been confessing his love to a girl, and now he was being humiliated by Alex shouting at him. A tall young man walked aggressively toward Alex. "Hey, why haven't you turned back yet?" The driver was frightened and was about to turn around. "Don't move," Alex shouted at him. "There's another route," the driver said fearfully. "We can get close and then you can walk the rest of the way from there. That guy's almost reached us, and if we don't leave now, we'll get beaten up." "I told you not to move," Alex said as he opened the car door. The tall young man approached and raised his fist, ready to strike. The young man had been defeated because he had underestimated Alex's strength. The driver had planned to abandon Alex and run away, but then Alex had beaten the young man within seconds. The driver was completely dumbfounded. Henry told the others to teach Alex a lesson while he stayed behind to talk to the girl. The driver panicked, believing that he was about to be beaten up. His first thought was to escape. Just as he was about to turn the car around, Alex angrily walked to the driver's side. "Get out!" "Hey, what are you doing?" the driver asked, shocked. Alex pulled him from the car and got into the driver's seat. "Get in," he yelled, slamming the door closed. Through the rear-view mirror, Alex glanced at Debbie, who looked sad. Then he looked at the young men rushing toward him. "Fine then," he thought. "Since you're so determined to block my way, don't blame me for being rude." Alex stepped on the accelerator and the car shot forward. When the young men saw the car speeding toward them, they were shocked. The tires screeched loudly as the car charged toward them like a ferocious beast made of steel. Only then did the men realize that Alex wasn't joking, and they quickly ran away. Henry was still pestering the girl he wanted when Alex's car came toward him. The girl standing beside Henry was completely stunned. When she saw the car, she covered her ears, closed her eyes, and screamed. Only when she heard the car roar away did the girl dare to open her eyes. Watching its taillights disappear, she thought about what had happened. When Alex had walked over earlier, she had seen his face and hadn't been able to look away. She mumbled in confusion. That man was so handsome. Alex was driving through the streets at 100 miles per hour. He overtook one car, then another, then yet another. Some of the other drivers on the road were scared, while some were confused by what was going on. Most of them pointed at his taillights and cursed at him. He didn't care about his life. Alex ignored the red light at an intersection, and a man riding an electric bike had to swerve to avoid him. The man was sent sprawling, and by the time he got up, Alex was already some distance away. They arrived at the general hospital within 20 minutes. "How many red lights did you run?" the car owner asked, his expression pained. "I'm going to lose my license." During the mad dash to the hospital, the car owner's heart had been in his mouth, and he had regretted letting Alex drive his car. No amount of money was worth risking death. Alex didn't care about the car owner. He got out of the car and opened the back door to help Debbie out. "Don't worry, nothing will happen to you," Alex assured the man. He had been driving the man's car, so Alex wouldn't let him get into any trouble. With that, he helped Debbie into the hospital. When they arrived at the ICU, Sam was waiting outside the ward. "Mr. Ambrose, Miss Stonehill, you made it," Sam said. "What's going on?" Alex asked with a frown. Debbie had let go of him and dashed to the door of the ICU, worriedly looking in through the window. A few doctors in white coats surrounded Carla, who was lying in bed. From time to time, they checked the numbers on the machines, while a few nurses helped to make Carla comfortable. The CEO of the general hospital walked over, and when he saw Debbie looking in, he called out, "Close the blinds." Sam had arranged for Carla to be seen immediately, and he had called in the most capable doctor to treat her. "The patient is this girl's mother," Sam said, frowning. Seeing Sam's expression, the CEO grew nervous. Sam thought highly of this girl. "I'm sorry," he hurriedly apologized to Debbie. "I didn't mean to offend you." Debbie barely heard a single word of what he was saying. The only thing she cared about was her mother. Alex still didn't know what was wrong with Carla. He walked up beside Debbie and put an arm around her shoulders as she looked into the ward. She didn't say a word, but he could feel her body trembling. More than an hour later, the doctors finished their treatment and walked out of the ICU. "Doctor, how is my mother?" Debbie asked anxiously, stepping in front of Dr. Henderson. The doctor glanced at Sam, who nodded. Only after getting Sam's agreement did the doctor begin to tell Debbie about Carla's illness. "Your mother's condition is very complicated," Dr. Henderson said. "We've managed to stabilize her for now, but we'll need to consult with some of our colleagues." Debbie was stunned. Her legs became weak, and she would have fallen to the ground if Alex hadn't been holding her up. "Don't be afraid," Alex comforted her. "The doctor said that your mom is stable. Trust me, she'll be fine." "I want to see her," Debbie said. She didn't want to listen anymore. She didn't feel at all reassured and just wanted to rush into the ICU. "Miss, please calm down," the doctor said, holding out a hand to stop her. "Your mother is very weak right now. She needs rest. Besides, she's not conscious at the moment, so even if you go in, she can't speak to you." "Listen to the doctor," Alex advised, frowning. "If you go in, it might make your mom's condition worse." Seeing Debbie like this, his heart ached. "The nurse is taking good care of her. Don't worry, your mom will be fine." His gentle persuasion worked, and Debbie stopped insisting on seeing Carla, but she refused to move away from the window. He looked at Sam and said, "Find all the best doctors in New York. If they can't help Debbie's mom, their careers are over." "I'll do it now," Sam said in fear, never having seen Alex in such a mood before. He left to make the arrangements. The CEO and the doctor were both shocked. This guy who looked like an ordinary student had shouted at Sam Woodsworth. And even more shocking was the fact that Sam obeyed him. Debbie stood by the window and watched quietly for over 3 hours. Sam told them that there was a doctor at another nearby hospital who was rushing over right now, and the hospital doctors were urgently discussing Carla's condition. "You should rest," Alex said, leading Debbie to a chair in the corridor. They sat down and Debbie leaned forward with her elbows on her knees, resting her forehead in her hands. "It'll be fine, believe me," Alex reassured her as he patted her back, but he was starting to feel as uncertain as she did. "What's going on?" someone yelled from inside the room. A moment later, a nurse rushed out. Debbie jumped in fright. She ran to the door of the ICU and looked inside. The nurse seemed flustered and unsure of what to do, and Carla was already awake. "Mom!" Debbie was extremely anxious. She pushed at the door, wanting to rush in. The nurse hurried over and opened the door. Debbie was about to run in, but the nurse stopped her. "Miss, please calm down. Only doctors can come in here," the nurse said anxiously. "You have to stay out there. There's nothing you can do to help. Right now, your mother's condition is very serious. We've already sent for a doctor, so please be patient." "Debbie, calm down," Alex said, holding her back. "You won't be able to do anything in there. We just have to wait for the doctor." "Let me go. I want to see my mother," Debbie said, trying her best to get away from him. She was completely out of control with worry. The same doctors from before ran over. Alex dragged the struggling Debbie away from the door to allow them entry. "I'm worried too," he told her, "but there's nothing we can do to help. I've already asked Sam to call all the best doctors in the city. Believe me, your mom will be fine." Although Debbie wanted to rush in to see her mother, she knew Alex was right, and she stopped fighting him. However, 10 minutes later, a flustered young doctor ran out and approached Sam. Trembling with fear, he said, "Mr. Woodsworth, the patient, her condition is deteriorating and there's not much we can do. Dr. Henderson said it's possible that, well, she may not make it." "What?" Sam asked. He glanced at Alex, who froze in shock, his eyes wide. Standing beside him, Debbie became even more agitated. "If anything happens to Mrs. Stonehill, then your career is over," Sam shouted at the doctor. "But Dr. Henderson said that the patient is already critical," the doctor whispered fearfully. Alex noticed the doctor's tone and realized what was happening. He stopped restraining Debbie and rushed to the door of the ICU with her. "What are you doing? You can't go in there," the young doctor objected. Sam slapped his face. "Open the door for Mr. Ambrose." "Yes, of course," the doctor said, hurrying to open the door. Alex, Debbie, and Sam all walked into the ICU. Debbie stood beside the bed, holding back tears as she looked at her mother. Carla's face was pale and haggard. She wore an oxygen mask and had several tubes sticking out of her body. Doctors were gathered around the bed. Debbie was stunned. She couldn't get in the way of her mother's treatment, but her heart felt as if it were breaking. "How is Mrs. Stonehill?" Sam asked Dr. Henderson. Seeing Sam's serious expression, the group of doctors grew nervous. "We had stabilized the patient's condition earlier, but now there's been a sudden change," Dr. Henderson reported. "Her heart and lungs are failing, and her liver, spleen, and kidneys are struggling too. There are also problems with her large intestine and respiratory tract." He had been surprised when he had seen Carla's condition. He had never witnessed anything like this before. "Just tell me if you can cure her." Sam lost his patience. Dr. Henderson's heart sank. The other doctors didn't even dare to breathe loudly. "I'm afraid, no, I can't," Dr. Henderson admitted. "If you can't cure her, then what's the point of you being here?" Sam reprimanded him angrily. His words scared Dr. Henderson so much that he staggered back. The rest of the doctors and nurses also inched further away. "Mr. Woodsworth, forgive me, but the patient's condition is very unusual," Dr. Henderson explained. "Within a short span of 3 to 4 hours, her condition has deteriorated to such an extent that not even the most authoritative expert in the world would be able to save her. I've never seen anything like it." He stared at Sam in trepidation, hoping Sam would understand. Carla, who was still in bed, slowly raised her hand. But she was too weak to lift it far. Debbie couldn't hold back any longer. She pushed the doctor aside and rushed to the bed. She glanced at the doctor and said, "My mom wants to take off her oxygen mask." She knew her mother well and knew what she wanted just by looking at her. Dr. Henderson gently removed Carla's oxygen mask. Carla, who looked pale and extremely weak, said softly to Sam, "Mr. Woodsworth, I don't blame the doctors for my illness. It's not their fault. But please send them out so I can have a private word with Debbie." "You can't," the doctor objected, knowing that Carla would die. Sam cast a questioning gaze at Alex. "All of you get out," Alex said, realizing that Carla could no longer be saved. They all headed toward the door. "Alex, please wait a moment," Carla said weakly. Alex stayed behind while Sam and the doctors went out and closed the door. "Mom," Debbie said, looking at her mother's face. Tears filled her eyes. "Don't cry, Debbie," Carla smiled faintly. She wanted to wipe away Debbie's tears, but Debbie was holding her hand. "Mom, don't move." Debbie knew how weak her mother was. "How do you feel? Are you in pain?" Her heart felt like it was being shredded when she thought about how much pain her mother was enduring. Carla only shook her head slightly. "It doesn't hurt." It doesn't hurt at all. Alex, you'll take good care of Debbie, won't you? Carla asked as her gaze slowly turned to Alex. Right from the beginning, she had seen the deep affection he had for Debbie. Mom, Debbie said, understanding the meaning of her mother's words. Yes, Mrs. Stonehill, I will take good care of Debbie, Alex said seriously as he looked into Carla's eyes. Good, good. Carla nodded her head in satisfaction. Her heart felt a little lighter. Alex was like family, and he would look after her daughter. Debbie, there's something I need to tell you, Carla said, looking at her. Already her vision was growing a little dim. Debbie held her mother's hand tightly, her eyes filling with tears. I'm not your biological mother, Carla said softly as she looked into Debbie's eyes. This was a secret that she had kept close to her heart for 20 years. Debbie was taken aback. Mom? She asked. I had planned to keep this secret for the rest of my life, Carla said, tears gathering in her eyes. But I felt that I was lying to you, and you should know the truth. No, Mom, Debbie mumbled in a daze. Carla was the only mother she had ever known, and now she was saying that she wasn't Debbie's biological mother. How could she accept that? Alex, who was standing to the side, was also surprised when he heard Carla's words. He looked at both women and realized that the two of them didn't resemble each other. Silly child, you're as kind as your mother. That isn't good. When Carla looked at Debbie's sweet face, she saw Debbie's mother. Touched by the reminder, tears slid down her face. No, Mom, you are my mother, Debbie insisted, growing anxious. Sweet child, I'm not worthy to be your mother, Carla said gently. Your mother is a dignified and elegant young lady, and I was just her young maid. Debbie shook her head slowly. When my young mistress gave birth to you, her family placed her under house arrest and she wasn't allowed to go out, Carla said. To prevent her from escaping, her family forced both of us to inject a poison. We could only survive if we kept consuming the antidote they gave us. Now the poison is flared up in me. The medicine only alleviates the illness for a while. This time it's too late. Mom, don't say any more, Debbie begged, but she had already begun to accept that Carla was not her mother. If I stop now, I'm afraid that I won't get the chance to say it later, Carla said gently. My mistress wanted to keep you safe and raise you herself, but then I learned that your family was looking for an opportunity to kill you while you were still a baby. Carla sighed. I told my mistress straight away. She was thoroughly disappointed with her family and had believed that if she stayed at home, she would wait for a chance to make a move against them. But when we heard of their plans, we took you, knocked out the guard, and ran out of the house. Debbie was hanging on to every word. We were very careful, Carla continued, but we were still discovered by the family. In the end, we were forced onto a cliff. They surrounded us, and my mistress wanted to go back with them and then find an opportunity to escape later. But the leader of the search party wanted to kill my mistress. She realized that something was wrong, but it was already too late, and they had their guns pointed right at us. Oh, Debbie couldn't help but exclaim softly. Alex's mouth also dropped open a little. The men were smiling, so sure of their victory, Carla said. But then my mistress suddenly hugged me and we climbed down the cliff a little. I was so scared that I closed my eyes. Then through the whistling wind, I heard her saying, Carla, take the child. I looked up and saw my mistress giving me a beautiful smile. And then she turned around and threw herself off the cliff. By the time I realized her intention, it was too late. Carla started to cry. I'm sorry, mistress. Debbie was dazed for a moment, as if she had also watched that miserable scene play out. Then Carla began to cough violently. Mom, put the oxygen mask back on, Debbie said, trying to put the mask on her. Let me finish, Carla insisted, turning her face away. She knew how sick she was. The mask wasn't going to make a difference. My poor young mistress, Carla sobbed. And there you were, still looking at me innocently, not understanding what had happened at all. I heard someone saying that they were coming down to search for us, so I didn't dare to stay there any longer. I carried you and left quickly. A few days later, Carla had carried Debbie into a small town in the Northeast and started a new life. Mom. Debbie kept trying to put Carla's oxygen mask back on, but Carla wouldn't let her. Debbie, she said, take off the jade pendant I'm wearing. Debbie carefully removed the pendant from around Carla's neck. The green part of the pendant faded to crystal white, and there were a few strands of red mixed in it at the end. It looked quite extraordinary. Carla had been wearing it for as long as Debbie could remember. She'd always wondered how a poor family like hers could have such a nice-looking pendant. She had asked Carla, but she had never received an answer. This pendant belonged to my mistress, Carla said, her voice growing weaker. I think you should wear it. It belongs to you. Alex, Carla said, focusing on him with great effort. Yes, he said seriously. All these years Debbie has suffered just like me, Carla said, her voice growing feeble. She's too kind, just like her mother, and I worry that she'll be bullied. Since she's chosen you, I hope that you'll treat her well and protect her from being hurt again. Her eyelids were growing heavier and heavier, and she had to fight hard to keep them from closing. She had to hear Alex's answer. Okay, he said solemnly. I promise that, as long as I'm around, I won't let Debbie get hurt, no matter how much I'm injured. You can depend on me. Thank you, Carla said. I'm so relieved. A faint smile appeared on her face. She no longer had the strength to move, and her breathing slowed. Stop talking, Debbie said. Please put on the oxygen mask. She was afraid Carla would waste even more energy trying to speak. I really miss my mistress, Carla said softly as she slowly closed her eyes. I really miss her. You need to rest, Debbie said. She picked up the oxygen mask and pulled it toward Carla's face. But out of the corner of her eye, she saw Carla's hand slide down the bed. It lightly brushed Debbie and then stopped moving. Debbie looked at Carla, who had her eyes closed, and felt a great sense of emptiness in her heart. Mom? Mom? She asked, her lip trembling. She desperately hoped that Carla would respond like she always did, even just with a soft hum. But Carla just lay there quietly, motionless, her face devoid of life. Mom? She asked again, finally realizing what had happened, and a sorrowful wail escaped from her mouth. She hugged Carla's body and pressed her head against her chest, crying sorrowfully. The doctors from the nearby hospital finally arrived and were stopped at the door by Sam. They were no longer of any use. Debbie's mind flashed through scenes of her life with her mother. She didn't care about her biological mother. She only knew that Carla was the one who had known her and loved her the most. Carla was the woman she was the closest to, and now she was gone forever, leaving Debbie an orphan with nothing but memories. 5 minutes passed, then 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour. Debbie continued to cry. Her mother's smiling face and voice were gone, and Debbie couldn't control herself. Alex stood silently beside her, listening to her heartbreaking sobs. His heart felt torn in two, but he knew that no one could help her. She needed to grieve. Debbie, please don't cry, he thought. You won't be lonely, not with me here. No matter what the future holds, I'll stay with you forever. Debbie cried for 3 whole hours that day. When she finally calmed down, Alex asked Sam to take care of Carla. Sam arranged for Carla's body to be cremated and her ashes placed in a grave in New York. Alex accompanied Debbie to the graveyard for the funeral, and when she saw Carla's grave, she cried for a long time. In the 5 days since Carla had passed away, Debbie had been really depressed. She didn't attend any classes at school, nor did she go to practice with the Dream Chasers. Alex was worried about her. If she didn't pull herself together soon, She would make herself ill. That morning he got up early, went out to buy some bread and milk, and then returned to the villa. A few days ago, Debbie had been refusing to eat at all. Then she began to eat a small amount at night. But now, to Alex's surprise, she ate a whole bowl of cereal and 2 slices of toast. "Can you take me to band practice?" she asked Alex after getting dressed properly for the first time in days. In the last few days, Debbie had been thinking a lot. She wondered what Carla would say if she could see her right now. She would feel hurt and blame herself for the state Debbie was in. She wouldn't want her to see her like this. Debbie's heart felt heavy, but she told herself that she needed to snap out of it as soon as possible. Carla needed to know that Debbie would have a good life. Only then would she be able to rest in peace. "Okay," Alex agreed in surprise. If Debbie was able to accept the fact that Carla was gone, then she would begin to recover. They got a taxi to the door of the music company. Katie and Olivia had also arrived and walked over to Melissa. "Is that Debbie's boyfriend?" Olivia asked. "What is he wearing? No wonder he's with Debbie. They have the same sense of style." "Did they come by taxi?" Katie asked. "I'm not seeing things, am I? He's at least 20, so he must have a car, right?" "Didn't Debbie say that she came from a little town in the Northeast?" Melissa asked. "Some little place in the middle of nowhere? No doubt her tuition fees took all her mom's money. She can't possibly buy a car. I'm surprised she can afford the taxi." Melissa smiled proudly as she spoke with her friends. They looked at Debbie, who stood still, watching them with a cold expression. Alex wanted to go over there and beat them up, but he could guess what Debbie wanted. After all, they were in the same band, and she didn't want to make things worse. Besides, now that she had calmed down, he didn't want to upset her again. In any case, there would be plenty of opportunities in the future, so there was no need to do anything rash. Melissa and the others arrogantly walked through the main entrance. A stopped at the side of the road, and a short-haired girl got out of the car. It was Rita, the girl he had previously met in the practice room. Rita saw Debbie and Alex, and she walked over to meet them. "You came," Rita said, looking at Debbie with a hint of concern. "Let's go in together." Debbie said goodbye to Alex and walked toward the door with her. Alex stood and watched. He had seen a trace of contempt in Rita's gaze when she looked at him. Combined with the way she looked at Debbie, it seemed that she didn't think him worthy of her. She looked down on him because she didn't think he could protect Debbie. He couldn't help but feel bitter. He took a taxi back to school. On the way, he thought about making some changes to help Debbie. At the very least, he should scare Melissa and the other girls a little. Although Alex was not the type of person who liked to brag, he would be willing to do so if it would protect Debbie. "Didn't they just laugh at me for not having a car and ridicule Debbie for taking a taxi?" he thought. "Well, I'll make sure they see Debbie riding in a luxury car." He didn't know why the he had ordered hadn't arrived yet. He should call and ask. 2 beautiful young women were wandering around the campus of Preston University. One of them was Kelly Phillips, the girl who had been blocking Alex's way when he drove to the hospital to see Debbie's mother. That night, Kelly had been cornered by Henry, who wanted her to agree to a date. No matter what Kelly had said, Henry hadn't let her leave. She had been so angry, but she hadn't been able to do anything about it, and then it driven up. A young man had stepped out of the car and had hit the man who had rushed at him. Then, completely unafraid, he had faced down more than 10 people, jumped into the car and sped toward them. Kelly thought that he would stop the car before he reached them, but he hadn't. He had increased his speed, knocking over the group of men, and continued on toward Henry. She had been scared when she had seen the car speeding toward her. She had covered her ears, closed her eyes, and screamed out loud. But then her nervousness and fear had been replaced by excitement. She had felt like a princess, and the man who had been driving the car had been her prince coming to her rescue. As she recalled his face, she felt extremely happy. From that day onward, she had begun searching for traces of the man within New York City. Eventually, she had discovered that he was probably a student at Preston University. So she had come here to search for him, but she still hadn't found him. Kelly, are you sure he's a student? Asked her friend Sharon Williams. How could one simple student have defeated so many people? It would take some nerve to drive into people like that. She was exhausted from Kelly dragging her around the city to look for this man. I had someone check it out for me, and I honestly think he might be a student at Preston University, Kelly said. But I don't know any more than that. Please, Sharon, come with me to find out more. She wasn't sure how to find her prince, but she was looking forward to meeting him. No, we've been walking for ages and I'm tired, Sharon said. She spotted a supermarket. Look, let's go in there and buy some drinks and then we can rest for a little while. Okay, Kelly agreed and went into the supermarket with Sharon to buy 2 bottles of water. Then they walked to a nearby sports field as they sipped their drinks. They sat under the shade of a tree, having a rest. Hey, why haven't I heard anything about the ordered a month ago? Came a voice from nearby. Is there a problem? When Kelly heard the voice, her eyes lit up. A short distance away, her prince was talking on the phone with his face angled slightly away from her. What's taking so long? He demanded. I'll give you an extra $100,000 if you can deliver the car within 10 days. Can you do that? He paused for a moment. Okay, I'll transfer the money now, and I expect the car to be delivered as soon as possible. Kelly and Sharon slowly walked over to Alex. When Kelly saw his face, she was sure that he was the man who had been driving the car that night. She was elated. But now that Alex was on the phone, she didn't dare to disturb him. He seemed to be very masculine and impulsive, so she was afraid of offending him. She watched as he made another call. Mr. Miller, please transfer $100,000 to the New York Auto Exhibition Center, he said into the phone. Kelly, is that really the man who saved you that night? Sharon whispered. I think maybe there's something wrong with him. She looked him over. He was a university student who was dressed in ordinary clothes and didn't look at all rich. And yet he had just been casually discussing something about $100,000. What was wrong with him? I'll help you meet him, Sharon said, rolling her eyes, and walked towards Alex. Alex ended the call. As he was about to leave, he noticed various students all sneering at him. They had heard what he had said on the phone and thought he was crazy. Alex shook his head and smiled lightly. They could think about what they liked. Hello. My custom-made which costs $3 million has not been delivered yet, the girl said, speaking into her phone. What? 4 months? No, bring the car to me within 10 days. I'll add $100,000. I must have that car. Alex looked at her speechlessly. The girl was mocking him. He went to walk around her, but she was still blocking his path. Alex was very angry. He didn't even know this girl, so why was she teasing him? Please step aside, Alex said, suppressing his anger. Can't you see I'm on the phone? The girl glared at Alex. He tried to walk around her again, but she continued to block his way and wouldn't let him pass. Sharon, stop joking around, Kelly said, walking over with an embarrassed expression. After Alex's actions that night, Sharon was playing with fire. Of course, Kelly also didn't want her friend to tease the prince who had saved her. What are you doing? Don't be silly. He doesn't look like the person you were talking about. Look at his clothes. He doesn't look much better than a beggar on the street, Sharon said. She had a poor impression of Alex, mainly due to the way he was glaring at her. It didn't cross her mind that she was the one who had teased him first, and that his glare was perfectly justified. Just stop talking for a minute, Kelly said as she glanced at Sharon. Then she looked at Alex and said, Hello, Alex. Sorry, I'm leaving. Alex didn't like Sharon either, and he had assumed that her friend must be as unpleasant as she was. He started to walk away. Now look what you've done, Kelly grumbled as she glanced at Sharon. Then she grabbed her friend's hands and they followed him. Alex felt thirsty, and as he walked past the cafeteria, he decided to get himself a cold drink. After the server had handed him his lemonade, he tried to swipe his meal card on the machine, but it wasn't accepted. Unfortunately, this canteen had only accepted meal cards or cash. Alex had thrown all his cash at the driver the other day to take him and Debbie to the hospital to see her mom. He didn't have any left to pay for the drink. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I don't... Alex was about to leave in embarrassment when he heard a beep from the machine beside him. He turned his head and saw that it was Sharon's friend who had paid. The girl was slim, with snow-white skin and bangs framing her forehead. Her eyes were big and full of spirit. She had a straight nose and thin pink lips. She looked very delicate. She smiled shyly at him. Alex didn't understand why she was paying for him, but he wanted to thank her. Sharon pulled Kelly away from the canteen and said with a frown, "Why are you paying for him? He was just bragging about having all that money. He said that he had over $1 million in the bank and that he has but he can't even pay for a soda. I think he's crazy. You shouldn't pay him any attention." Even if Alex was the one who had saved Kelly that night, Sharon didn't think much of him. She didn't believe that he was as rich and powerful as Kelly thought. She thought he was just a braggart and a loser. "Shut up, Sharon." Hearing what she said, Kelly started to get annoyed. She didn't care if Alex had been bragging on the phone just a moment ago. To her, he was still her hero. Alex became suspicious when he heard Sharon's words. He wondered, what does she mean by "don't pay him any attention"? She's reminding me of Cathy and Karen. When the two of them had been paying me attention, they'd both been thinking of ways to cheat me out of money. Could it be that this seemingly harmless friend of Sharon is also after my money? It's possible. After all, quite a few people in the school know that I donated more than $100,000 to the charity. Thinking about this, Alex couldn't help but feel a little angry. He didn't want to be cheated by any woman, no matter how pretty they were. Any woman who was only paying him attention because of his money was ugly to him. He put the lemonade glass on the counter, turned and walked out of the canteen. Kelly started to follow him. She wasn't aware of what Alex had been through with Cathy and Karen, so she couldn't understand why he was being so rude to her. Alex picked up a hire bike on campus and headed to his dorm so that he could get rid of Kelly and the others. To his surprise, Kelly also got a bike and started following him. "Hey, wait a moment," Kelly cried. She was crazily pedaling her bike after him. She rarely rode a bike, so her posture was very awkward. Alex ignored her and continued to ride very fast. "Please stop, I have something to tell you." With a great effort, Kelly finally caught up with him. She tilted her head and panted as she spoke. Alex didn't even look at her, but continued to pedal. He cycled away and left her far behind. "Wait for me, why are you pedaling so quickly?" Kelly pleaded and pedaled as quickly as she could, but the gap between them was getting bigger and bigger. Alex didn't feel sorry for her. "I know that this girl is only talking to me to trick me out of money," he thought. "Why should I give her a chance to do that?" When they arrived at the square in front of the library, Alex heard a clanging sound behind him. He quickly turned around and saw that Kelly's bike had landed on the grass and that she had fallen on top of it. As he saw this, he started to feel a little guilty. After all, Kelly had fallen because she was trying to catch up with him. Alex looked at Kelly lying on the grass. He realized that he'd acted badly and his heart softened. Finally, he turned around and rode to where she had fallen. He propped up his bike and walked over to her. Kelly said angrily to him, "Why did you keep running away from me? Go away, it's too late now." He asked, "Are you okay?" "Would you feel okay in my position? What do you think?" she answered, staring at him from the ground. Alex sighed and reached out his hand to her. She looked at his outstretched hand. Although she was still angry with him, she took it and he pulled her up off the grass. "Are you okay?" Alex asked again, holding her up. "My ankle hurts a little," she replied. Her attitude had also softened toward him. Alex supported the limping girl as they slowly walked to a rock by the side of the road. "Slow down," he told her. Because of his kindness, Kelly started to feel happier. "My ankle hurts. Maybe you could help me massage it?" Kelly requested gently as she looked into his eyes. Alex couldn't turn down such a pretty girl. It was my fault that she fell off her bike after all, he thought. Alex squatted down in front of Kelly. A few male students who were relaxing and reading books on the lawn close by saw this scene. They couldn't concentrate on their reading, as they couldn't help but watch this boy rubbing the girl's foot. The girl sitting on the rock was so beautiful. She was perfect and delicate. Who wouldn't want to take care of her? But the guy was dressed in ordinary clothes. He looked like a total loser, and she was letting him rub her feet. The boys who were watching felt jealous and annoyed. They all wanted to be rubbing the feet of this beautiful girl. "How is it?" Alex raised his head and asked kindly. "There is still a little pain," Kelly replied softly. At first, she thought Alex was a tough, straightforward man, but now it seemed that he had a delicate and gentle side to him. Her good impression of him deepened. Alex was still squatting on the ground, carefully rubbing her feet, when Kelly suddenly asked, "What do you think of me?" "What do you mean?" He stopped and looked at her curiously. "If you like me after all, why don't we go on a date?" Kelly thought Alex liked her too. For her, it had been love at first sight. The first time she had seen him, she wanted to go out with him. Alex put her foot down. He gave her a small smile and stood up. It was just as he thought. She did have an ulterior motive for wanting to get closer to him. He had never met Kelly before. He thought, we've known each other for less than an hour, and yet she says she has feelings for me. Does she like me, or is she only after my money? Alex smiled and slowly turned around to leave. Hold on. Kelly stood up from the rock anxiously and pulled him back. I want to be your girlfriend. What's wrong with that? Kelly was used to men pursuing her. This was the first time she had to proposition a man. She couldn't believe he was rejecting her. How could she not be angry? The boys on the grass who'd been secretly watching them were shocked. How could this beautiful goddess fall in love with her? Ask him out. He looked like a nobody. What did this girl see in him? What are you talking about? We've known each other for less than an hour, and I don't even know your name, but you say you want to be my girlfriend? Do you think I'm stupid? Alex asked Kelly with a sneer on his face. I was careless. My name is Kelly. Do you think I'm lying to you? I'm not, she explained quickly. And actually, we have met before. We've met before? Alex was surprised. Such a pretty girl. If he had seen her before, he would remember her. Yes, not only have we met, but you did me a huge favor, she said, and told him all about what had happened that day. Only then did Alex start to remember the incident. As he was rushing in a car to the hospital to see Debbie's mother, he had knocked over the boy who was bothering her. On that day, I thought it was all over. Fortunately, you appeared in time and saved me. I really wanted to see you again, so I tracked you down and came to Preston University to find you. I understand. Alex nodded slowly. Only then did he believe that Kelly was not after his money. Just at that moment, Sharon quickly walked up to them. She hadn't taken a bike, but had been following them on foot, and she had seen Kelly lying on grass. She was worried as she asked her friend, Are you okay? Kelly ignored her as her gaze was focused on Alex's face. She asked him, So, would you like to date me? Kelly was still very confident. She was sure that he would want to go out with her now that the misunderstanding was resolved. You're asking him out? But he's a Sharon couldn't understand her friend. However, she did know how stubborn she was. If Kelly had set her mind on something, she knew that she could do nothing to change it. Sharon pointed at Alex and said, I'm warning you, don't take advantage of Kelly. You think too much of yourself. I know you're only after one thing. I don't want to go out with her, Alex replied calmly. You know Kelly's way too good for you, and yet you still think you could go out with her? You're unbelievable. Sharon berated Alex for a while before realizing that he had said, I don't want to. She was stunned. In her opinion, Kelly was so desirable that no man in his right mind would ever turn her down. Sharon couldn't help but look over at Kelly, only to see her biting her lip. She looked close to tears. To help Kelly feel better, Sharon pointed at Alex and said harshly, Are you blind? Kelly asked you out and you actually turned her down? I guess you must realize you're not good enough for her. Alex didn't know what to say. Sharon was wrong in her assumption, but he couldn't agree to go out with Kelly. Give me a reason, Kelly said with a smile as she tried to suppress her disappointment. I already have a girlfriend, he said with a shrug. Regardless of whether Kelly was sincere about her feelings or not, he would not mess around. Hearing this explanation, Kelly felt a little better. It wasn't that he didn't like her, it also proved that he was a good man, that he was a man that she could admire. So what if you have a girlfriend? I bet I'm as good as her. Maybe if you go out with me for a while, you'll find that you prefer me to your girlfriend. Kelly's eyes lit up again. No need. I love my girlfriend. I said that I'll protect her forever. Debbie's face appeared in Alex's mind, and he smiled. Kelly was shocked when she saw his smile. It seemed genuine. I want to meet your girlfriend and see how beautiful she is, and I want to see for myself how much you love her, Kelly said with a small smile. In her heart, however, she knew that she was jealous. She's at work now, not at school. That moment, Alex's cell phone rang. It was Debbie. Debbie, is something wrong? Oh, good. Of course, you can call me whenever you like. That's great. If you listen to your teacher, you'll definitely improve. All right, I'll pick you up this afternoon. Bye. Alex hung up the phone. Seeing the blissful look on his face while he was speaking to his girlfriend, Kelly was envious of her. It sounds like you guys really love each other, she said, and she smiled, but there was envy in her heart. But don't think that I'm going to give up that easily. In my opinion, you're only with her because you met her first. I've made it very clear that I'll take care of her for the rest of her life. Please stay away from me, Alex said rudely. You're having a go at me now. It doesn't matter, though. You'll make it up to me in the future. Kelly remained calm and she smiled confidently, but inside she was seething. Alex had never met a woman like Kelly before. She didn't even react when he was rude to her. She was so determined to win him over. He wondered how he could ever get rid of her. Just please forget it and let me go, he said as he stared at her in desperation. Are you begging me? Kelly asked proudly. Looking at Alex's angry face, she rolled her eyes and revealed a sly smile. You want me to let you go? Sure, but you have to promise me one thing. What? Alex would do anything to get rid of her. Accompany me to a party and tell everyone that you're my boyfriend. She stared into his eyes and continued, Don't worry, it's just an act, but you have to pretend to everyone at the party that we're together. Okay, I'll do it, he nodded. Aren't you going to tell me your name? Kelly asked. Alex. She asked him for his phone number. Then I'll see you tomorrow. Just wait for me at the entrance of your school. Kelly stood up and waved at him with a smile. Alex said goodbye, turned around, and left. Watching him leave, Kelly lowered her head slightly with a smile. He had agreed to go to the party with her, and she felt very pleased with herself. Sharon had heaved a sigh of relief when she heard Kelly say that she only wanted Alex to pretend to be her boyfriend. She said, Kelly, I'm relieved. For a while there, I thought you really liked that loser. Luckily, you figured it out in the end. I do really like him, Kelly replied as she recalled Alex's handsome face. What? Didn't you promise to let him go? You just asked him to pretend to be your boyfriend at the party. Sharon looked surprised. Kelly revealed a sly smile as she muttered, I don't think so. Once he spends some time with me at the party, he'll soon realize that I'm the one he wants to be with. I give up. You really don't know what's good for you, Sharon said helplessly. Let's go. As they were leaving, Kelly felt a twinge of pain in her ankle. This brought back the memory of Alex squatting on the ground and rubbing her feet, and a smug smile appeared on her face. For the past 3 days, in addition to her usual lessons, Debbie had also been training at the Sunshine Music Company. She was no longer being bullied, and she had gradually started to relax. Alex was relieved to see her confidence growing. On the day of the party, Alex had dropped Debbie off at Sunshine Music and had just gotten back to the university campus when he received a call from Kelly, telling him to go to the school gate. After ending the call, he went quickly to their meeting place, where he saw Kelly driving up and waving at him. Sharon, who was sitting in the passenger seat, looked at him in disgust. She said, Don't you have any decent clothes you could have worn? You do know who's going to be there today, don't you? They won't be able to stop laughing at you when they see you. How about I don't go? Alex replied. He didn't take Sharon's words seriously. He also didn't care at all about this party or what the people there thought of him. It's all right, Kelly said with a smile. He still looks handsome. Get in the car. Alex climbed into the back seat and Kelly started the car. When she pulled up at Washington Heights, Alex was puzzled. He asked, Why have you stopped here? The party's in this district, she replied sweetly. You guys go ahead and I'll park the car. Alex and Sharon got out of the car. He looked around him and thought, lucky that Debbie went to music practice today. It would be a disaster if she saw me here with Kelly. Sharon snorted when she saw Alex looking around him. She laughed and said, ha, look at you staring at the posh houses. You've never even been to such a good neighborhood as this before, have you? Alex glanced at her but didn't say anything. Sharon was dressed beautifully today. She looked even more sophisticated than the last time Alex had seen her. A few minutes later, Kelly had parked her car and walked over to them. Alex noticed that she was also wearing particularly elegant clothes. Her hair was adorned with a dark purple bow, and she was wearing a long, light green dress. She wore high-heeled sandals at her feet, making her look elegant and beautiful. She looked like a Hollywood movie star, and Alex couldn't help but admire her for a moment. Let's go, Kelly said with a smile when she saw Alex's stunned expression. The three of them walked to the entrance of the residential complex. The gate to the district was closed, and only residents with key cards could enter. They waited for a long time, but no one came out. The girls started to worry. Alex thought, well, it seems that I'm the only one who can get us in. Since we're here now, I might as well do it. He pulled out his card, put it on the sensor, and the door opened with a beep. Kelly opened her eyes wide as she looked at Alex. She asked, how did you get a security card for this place? She thought, is Alex a resident of Washington Heights? But this is one of the top residential areas in New York City. Alex hadn't expected such a strong reaction from Kelly. He regretted that he had revealed that he had a key card, but there was nothing he could do now. He could only nod up and down. He replied, actually, I live here. Sharon blurted out, Alex, do you really expect us to believe that you have a house here? Do you take us for... Even the cheapest house in the Washington Heights costs more than $4 million. How could you ever afford that? Alex frowned as he looked at her. She continued, you probably don't know that after you left the other day, Kelly and I went to your class and asked your classmates about you. Sharon smiled at Alex, as if she saw straight through him. Your tuition fees are paid by the state and by the school's poverty fund, and you cover your living expenses with part-time jobs. Your clothes are old and cheap, and your cell phone is second-hand. Sharon and Kelly had indeed asked around about Alex. They had learned quite a lot about him, but it wasn't the whole truth. You expect us to believe that you live in Washington Heights? Do you think we're that easy to deceive, or are you simply brainless? Sharon asked bluntly. Alex swallowed. What she said was true, but he wasn't lying either. He did indeed have a villa at Washington Heights, and it was the most expensive villa on the complex. Sharon, Kelly stopped her from continuing. Her words were too mean. Perhaps what he said is true, she suggested. Kelly still had a glimmer of hope in her heart. She wanted to believe that Alex wasn't lying to her. Really? Kelly, don't be ridiculous. I'm guessing that he must work part-time in this district, which is why he has the key card. Sharon laughed and pointed at the office at the door. She looked at Alex and said, how about we don't ask the office? If you're a resident, they're sure to recognize you. Alex didn't say anything. He didn't care what Sharon or Kelly thought of him, so why make things any more complicated? He still didn't want them to know how rich he was. He frowned to himself, looked at the sky, and didn't say anything. See, he's a liar. Sharon felt certain that she had seen through Alex's lies. She smiled proudly at Kelly, who sighed loudly. She was disappointed, but tried to console herself that Alex didn't lie often. It wasn't a big problem for her. Sharon continued to lecture Alex. Don't think that I don't know what you're planning. I know you want to be with Kelly so you can live off her money, right? She glared at him and continued, well, don't even try it with me around. Sharon, stop it. Kelly felt that her friend's words were unnecessarily mean. She just couldn't believe that Alex was that kind of person. Embarrassed, she said to Alex, don't listen to her. Sharon is just looking out for me. Let's go to the party. Everyone is probably already there. The three of them walked into the district. Together they walked through the Washington Heights residential area. There were neat rows of Mediterranean-looking villas. In front of each, there were all kinds of plants and trees. such as money trees, almonds in full bloom, and citrus trees. It was a very colorful and pretty scene. On both sides of the road, there were pine trees with birds chirping. The surrounding air was cool and fresh, with a faint fragrance of flowers. Alex had spent a lot of time there, so it was nothing new for him. But the two girls were amazed by the beauty of their surroundings. They took lots of panoramic photos on their cell phones, exclaiming that Washington Heights was indeed worthy of being one of the top 2 residential areas in New York. Soon, they arrived at the artificial lake. In the middle of the lake was a small island, and on the island was a villa, which looked even more luxurious than the other properties. It looked like a European castle. "So beautiful," the two girls exclaimed, as they looked longingly at the villa on the island and felt a gentle breeze from the lake brushing their faces. Kelly commented, "That villa is worth over $40 million. I heard that it was bought by a young student in his 20s. Can you believe he's got so much money at that age?" The breeze rustled her dress. Standing by the lake, she looked very beautiful. Sharon replied, "Who knows? I've heard from a friend who works here that he bought this villa over a month ago and hasn't lived in it at all. Maybe he even has a better house than this one." She imagined the young man and said longingly, "If I ever meet him, I want to hug him and kiss him." Hearing her words, Alex, who was standing nearby, started coughing. "I'm sorry, I choked," he quickly apologized. But Sharon didn't even notice how appalled he was with the way she was talking. She looked at him with disdain and said, "Did you say you lived here? Tell me, which villa is yours? Is there something you want to tell us?" Alex subconsciously glared at the mansion on the artificial island. "Why are you looking at that villa? You couldn't afford that if you lived another 8 lifetimes." She pulled Kelly's hand and said, "Let's go." Sharon pulled Kelly, and they walked away from Alex, who shook his head in despair and followed behind them. Soon they could hear the sounds of people chatting and laughing, and a few minutes later, they arrived at a villa on the southern side of the residential area. Kelly, Sharon, and Alex walked into the garden. One of the young men saw them and called out, "Sharon, Kelly are here." "We were all hoping you were coming," said another. Another said, "Kelly, we haven't seen each other in a few months, but you look prettier than ever." Everyone rushed over to greet the girls, mostly young men, but there were also a few girls. The young men surrounding Kelly were all chatting happily. Then one of them noticed the young man standing beside her, wearing scruffy clothes and looking as if he didn't belong. "Who's this?" asked one of the men. "Look at what he's wearing. It looks like he bought his clothes from the flea market." Another said, "He doesn't even have a decent haircut, or a watch, or chain. What's he doing here?" "I can't believe that Simon would invite someone like him," agreed the first man. The others started to discuss Alex right in front of him as if he wasn't there. "Hey, you must have walked down the wrong path. Look around you. You don't belong here," a man said to Alex as he glanced around at the other guests. All of them looked smartly dressed in expensive designer outfits. He shot a disdainful look at Alex and clicked his tongue. "You think you're one of us? I think you should leave." As he spoke, the young man gestured to the way out. But Sharon interrupted. "Hey, what are you doing?" "He's here with me and Kelly," she said with a smile. "He came with you?" The others were shocked. This boy was much poorer than them. Why would Kelly bring him? And she and Sharon were the most beautiful girls there. They could have any man they wanted, and usually they rejected them all. Seeing the men's confused expressions, Sharon smiled smugly. Her eyes swept over Alex's body, and then she looked at the others. "His name is Alex, and don't underestimate him. He's not just anyone," she said with a mysterious smile. "Oh?" Hearing her words, the others looked at Alex again. Could it be that this guy who looks like a pauper is rich? They wondered. Sharon cleared her throat. "A month ago, Alex ordered an exclusive worth over $20 million. This car is currently being manufactured in Italy from the world's best parts." Hearing this, the others were shocked. Alex and Kelly frowned. They knew that Sharon was not going to praise him, so what was she up to? She continued, "Alex didn't want to wait too long for the car to be manufactured, so he paid an extra $100,000 to have it made more quickly. The team has to deliver it to him within 10 days. She was enjoying herself. Originally, the others almost believed that Alex could be from a middle-class family, but as they watched Sharon, a coy smile appeared on her face, and they realized that she was joking with them. "Did you know that when we arrived earlier, Alex actually pretended that he lives here?" she continued. The others gasped in mock horror and looked at him with sneering smiles. "And do you know which villa he lives in?" The more Sharon spoke, the more animated she became. Looking at the others laughing at Alex, she was enjoying her joke. "I'll tell you guys in secret, it's the one on the artificial island." The others replied at the same time. Their laughter was filled with ridicule. One man said, "So he's not just wealthy, he must be super rich." Another joined in. "It just shows you can't judge a book by its cover." "Since you own the most expensive villa on the artificial lake, why are we still here? This doesn't compare to your house there. Let's go to your place." The guy who tried to get Alex to leave pushed him as he spoke. "What are you doing?" Kelly demanded as she pushed the man away. She stood in front of Alex and looked at the others angrily. "What's wrong with you guys? What are you laughing at? Do you want to have a go at me now? Go on then." The man replied, "Kelly, you know what we're saying. It's just that this guy doesn't fit in at this party and he's making everybody here uncomfortable." "Why doesn't he fit in?" "Well, he's my boyfriend." "Do you still think he's not worthy?" Kelly glared at the others as she spoke. When they heard this, everyone was stunned. That just can't be right. Sharon was also shocked when she heard her friend telling everyone that Alex was her boyfriend. She couldn't believe it. Alex was bewildered for a moment, but Kelly had told him before that he had to pretend to be her boyfriend at the party. One of the guests laughed and said, "Kelly, stop joking with us. We know you wouldn't date someone like him. You've had loads of rich guys chasing you, and you turned them all down." Another said, "I know what's happening. Hasn't Kelly been annoyed by Henry Moore pestering her recently? I bet she's found a fake boyfriend to scare him off." "Yes, that's right, it must be," another agreed. Kelly was like a goddess to them. They really couldn't accept that she would date someone like Alex. The first man smiled and said to her, "We're right, aren't we?" "Kelly, actually, if you need someone to pretend to be your boyfriend, I'd be happy to help." "And me," said his friend. Looking at these people who thought they were being clever, Kelly chuckled softly. "Who told you he was pretending to be my boyfriend?" she asked with a small smile. The others looked at her in confusion. Why did she need to ask? Kelly came from such a good family. Why would she settle for someone like Alex? Kelly turned and looked at Alex. He was taken aback by how pretty she looked peeking out from beneath her sun hat. He looked into her bright eyes and couldn't help but feel touched by her gaze. Kelly stared into his eyes, then stood on her tiptoes and kissed him on the mouth. Alex was stunned. As Kelly kissed him, Alex didn't respond at all. He opened his eyes wide to see Kelly's face right in front of him. Even though Alex's mind was in turmoil, his body felt light, as if he was lying on soft clouds. He quickly pushed Kelly away. He looked at her in shock. His mind was all over the place. What have I done? Alex thought about Debbie and felt guilty. He felt that kissing another woman behind her back was disgusting, heartless, and cruel. Kelly was shocked when Alex pushed her away. She looked at him, and for a moment, and her heart just felt empty. This was her first kiss. She had imagined it countless times and had never imagined it would be like this. And this was the first time in her life that she had ever been rejected. Everyone watching was in shock. Most of them stood with their mouths open. One of them had had his mouth open ever since Kelly first started kissing Alex. At this moment, a sliver of drool slipped from the corner of his mouth, and he finally came back to his senses. A man with a ponytail turned to someone beside him and asked, "Did Kelly just kiss him?" His friend just shook his head dumbly. Although they looked calm on the outside, all the men in the group were broken-hearted. How could this woman that they worshipped want to kiss? All the men looked in disgust at Alex, who was staring at Kelly resentfully. They ground their teeth as if they wanted to eat him alive. He's just been kissed by a goddess, they thought. This egg should be overjoyed, but he has a look of disdain on his face. He's clearly just showing off to everyone. They thought Alex was trying to say, "Look at all you sad losers. You've been trying to seduce this beautiful woman for such a long time, and she's barely given you the time of day. And now your goddess has kissed me, and I don't care. Your goddess is just a plaything to me, and you still have the audacity to call me. You're the real loser." "You've got a nerve," one of the guys called out. Another joined in. "Yeah, you think you're too good for Kelly, right? How dare you push her away? Kelly kissed you because she likes you, and you had the nerve to push her away. How could you?" another said. Several of the men tried to pick a fight with Alex, but Kelly stood in front of him and asked, "What are you guys doing?" The man at the front pointed at Alex. Confused, he asked her, "Kelly, he can't treat you like this. Why are you still protecting him?" "Never mind what he did. It's between us. It has nothing to do with you," Kelly replied as she stared at the man. She understood why Alex had pushed her away. He must have thought of his girlfriend and felt guilty for kissing her. This proved that he was a good man. Although he had rejected her in front of everyone, she didn't care because she could tell that he was a man worthy of her pursuit. Kelly's words rendered the others speechless. They looked at her and then at Alex dumbly. They wanted to beat him up, but they had no justification. Kelly didn't seem to care that he had rejected her, so what could they say? They could only stare. Some of them were starting to admire Alex, and they wanted to know what he had done to make Kelly so determined to protect him. Just then, loud applause rang out, and they all heard a strident voice saying, "You're my cousin, all right. You're nothing like the other women." Everyone looked toward the villa and saw a tall, handsome man walk out. He was bare-chested and wore a pair of flowered shorts. He had his arm around the waist of a tall, beautiful woman. The man was Kelly's cousin, Simon, and this party was to celebrate his 20th birthday. After walking into the garden, the beautiful woman smiled cheerfully at the man and said softly, "Simon, I'll leave now." She kissed Simon on the cheek and walked out through the gate. One of his friends shouted to him. Another said, "Simon, that woman was gorgeous. Where'd she come from? Give me her number." A few boys crowded around Simon, but he ignored them. He looked toward Kelly and walked up to her with a smile on his face. "Kelly, you look beautiful as always." There was a hint of desire in his eyes, and he only reined in his lust when he saw Kelly turn her face away in disgust. "So, who is the man that captivated my cousin so much?" Simon turned his gaze toward Alex. He first uttered an "oh" in surprise, and then sized him up with a faint smile. He couldn't help but let out a "wow." "Kelly, your judgment is improving. You seem to have found yourself the perfect boyfriend," he said to his cousin with a naughty smile. Simon's friends heard his sarcasm, and some of them joined in. One called out, "Truly outrageous." "By the way, Henry Moore will be here soon. Henry's in love with Kelly, and when he sees that it's Kelly's boyfriend, we won't be able to hold him back," another reminded everyone. "You're right, Henry's temper is terrible. The kid's in big trouble." Kelly chuckled softly. She glanced at the others and said, "I'm afraid Henry can't come. He's lying in the hospital right now." She knew that Henry had been hurt quite badly when Alex hit him with the car. When they heard what Kelly said, no one could believe it. "Simon, Henry's coming tonight, isn't he?" someone asked Simon. He was really good friends with Henry, and everyone else in their group looked up to the pair of them. He must know what was happening with Harry. "He can't come," Simon said lightly. "A few days ago, he was hit by a car driven by a young lunatic. He was injured quite badly, and he's still lying in the hospital." The others were shocked. Who would dare hit Henry with his car? Everyone knew that Henry had a lot of connections and was well respected in society. One friend asked, "Holy shit, Simon, do you know who did it?" "Daring to bump into Henry, he must have a death wish, right?" another said. "Let's see if Henry needs help," suggested another. Simon replied to his friends, "It's okay. Well, Henry's been in the hospital. He's already found someone to investigate the incident for him and find out who did it. When he finds out who it was, he'll definitely let us all know." Simon then turned his gaze to Alex and smiled lightly, saying, "So, you want to pick up my cousin? Well, you should think carefully about what you're doing. Personally, I suggest that you stay well away from her. Otherwise, I'd like to think about what'll happen to you when Henry leaves the hospital." "Have you finished?" Kelly pushed Simon away and looked at him in disgust. She was tempted to tell this group of people that Alex was the one who knocked Henry down, but she knew that she couldn't. "All right, I won't say any more." Simon raised his hand in front of Kelly to show that he was backing down, but he was still staring at Alex with a hint of ridicule. Just then Simon's phone rang. He answered it saying, "Darling, you're at the door, right? Great. I'll come and find you right now." After ending the call, he proudly said to his friends, "Everyone carry on having fun without me. I'm going to go pick up my girlfriend." A young man said wistfully, "Simon's girlfriend, Shirley's so beautiful. She looks like Megan Fox. Can't wait to see her again." "I've been with her so long that I'm already bored by her," Simon said in disdain. "Damn, a beauty like Megan Fox and you're bored with her? How awesome." "Why shouldn't I get bored with her? Wait till you guys find a girlfriend like that and you'll know what I mean," Simon said, enjoying everyone's admiration. Simon was very proud of himself as he looked at his friends. They were all in awe of him. He said, "You'll see, my new girl's even more gorgeous. Anyway, I'm done talking to you guys. I'm going to go meet my baby." Then he turned around and walked out. Everyone was intrigued. Is someone more gorgeous than Megan Fox? She must be incredible. A few minutes later, Simon walked over, talking and laughing with the beautiful woman on his arm. Everyone looked toward them, keen to see his new girlfriend. The girl beside Simon was wearing a light blue, knee-length dress that showed off her shapely legs. She had beautiful, shiny hair and a very pretty face. Although she wasn't as beautiful as Simon had boasted, she was still very attractive, and his friends were jealous. But when Alex saw her, his heart tightened. It was Cathy. His hands clenched into fists. Kelly noticed that something was wrong with Alex and asked him with concern, "Are you okay?" Alex replied quietly, "I'm fine." Simon and Cathy walked into the garden holding each other's hands. Cathy didn't notice that Alex was standing at the back of the crowd. One of his friends said, "Simon, your new girlfriend's so beautiful." "Nice to meet you," another said to Cathy. Cathy looked proudly at Simon's friends and gave them a brilliant smile. Simon introduced Cathy as he slid his hand onto her butt. "These are my good friends. "Why isn't Henry here?" Cathy asked. She had been with Simon for more than 10 days, and in that time she had met Henry. "My cousin told us that he's been hit by a car and now he's lying in the hospital." When Simon spoke, he was very close to Cathy. His eyes were fixed on her lips, and she felt excited. "Really? Is your cousin here?" Cathy knew Simon's family was rich, so she wanted to meet them and make a good impression as soon as possible. "Kelly, come meet Cathy," Simon said to his cousin. "Kelly." Cathy followed Simon's gaze and looked over. The smile on her face froze when she saw Alex, who was standing beside her. Lately, Cathy had not been at class at all. This was the first time she'd seen Alex. She became very agitated. "Darling, what's the matter?" Simon saw that Cathy's eyes were focused on Alex's face, so he smiled and said, "You're upset that we have such a party, right? I didn't invite him. I know he looks terrible, but apparently he's my cousin's boyfriend. What do you think?" Cathy's heart was racing. She started to become filled with hatred and resentment toward Alex. Until recently, she had believed that Alex was still in love with her and would always be waiting for her. But he'd already betrayed her when he started seeing Debbie, and now he was having another affair with yet another woman. Cathy felt that Alex was betraying her again. "I need to go to the washroom first." Cathy smiled sweetly to Simon, stood up and walked into the villa. When she turned around, her expression was mean.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.